Okay, I'm in the midst of the junipers here. You can see it's way down, but when I lift the camera up above, you can see the reservoir down there. Really beautiful area. There's more of the reservoir right there. And it goes all the way and around. Yeah, see, there's the top of the juniper, so I'll get up above it. It's a beautiful spot here. I'm going to try like crazy to set this camera up so I can get a good shot. Boy, it's rough terrain. See if I can get a good shot of the distance there. Okay. I've driven around the rim to the main, pretty much the main reservoir. It snakes out and around through this, through all these lava rocks, and boy, some of the junipers here get 8 and 9 feet high. It's beautiful for the deer and the wildlife, the rabbits and the coyotes and all that jazz. Hopefully no snakes, and if they are, I hope I don't get bit. Well, if I do, I'll just bite it back. Okay, I'm discussing this DNA in the Book of Mormon idea, this issue with DNA. And I'm discussing the Book of Mormon. Now, this is so interesting because Meldrum and Stephens on page 12, they're trying to describe the internal parameters of the basis of understanding Lamanites and Nephites. Of course, we have to understand who they were if we're going to test them genetically in the modern American, Native American populations, right? I mean, you have to understand what we're looking for before you can find it, right? Makes sense. In the record itself, we meet on 2 occasions where someone says, I'm a direct descendant of Lehi, but he's mingling among people whom we would say, well, those are Nephites, so duh, he's stating the obvious. But he has to state that because these people he's among are not the descendants of Lehi. Not everyone in America is either Lamanite or Nephite. That is simply not true. From the internal information on the Book of Mormon itself, we learn that. He would make that statement because it's an implicit acknowledgement that Lehi's posterity was mingling with others in the region. Now, Nephi, the record keeper, he had already set the convention of silence, of relative silence, about the presence of others when they set sail, before they set sail for the New World, of course. They didn't have a lot of contacts because it was dangerous in the Arabian desert to contact other people. There were raiding Bedouins and marauding raiders all over the place there. They had to be very careful on the frankincense trail throughout the length of Arabia. And of course, they stayed to the more fertile parts of the wilderness because those springs were crucial to their survival. They traveled from oasis to oasis, of course. Well, others were inhabiting those oases also. So he had to be careful. Nephi never mentions interactions with the local people. Is it therefore surprising, they ask, that the tradition continued by not directly mentioning the indigenous people certainly present in the New World? Hugh Nibley noted long ago, strictly speaking, the Book of Mormon is the history of a group of sectaries preoccupied with their own religious affairs. It's about them, not everyone else. They only notice the presence of other groups when they have reason to mingle or collide with those other groups. There's nothing whatsoever in the Book of Mormon to indicate that everything that is found in the New World has to be either Lamanite or Nephite. This is the implication we have with the Book of Mormon. The Book of Mormon record is significantly restricted in scope and conveys only a limited sense of the various peoples, enterprises, and expansions that were going on. This we have to come to grips with. We have to understand the Book of Mormon record is a lineage record, as John Sorensen showed in the Ancient American setting for the Book of Mormon. This lineage is concerned with their own selves, not necessarily giving a history of all the other peoples there. No, they're not interested in that. On page 13, they say, the purpose of the Book of Mormon is to show unto the remnant of the house of Israel what great things the Lord hath done for their fathers, that they might know the covenant of the Lord, to the convincing of the Jew and the Gentile that Jesus is the Christ, the eternal God. The focus of the Book of Mormon is on the covenant, the leaven in the bread, not necessarily who everybody is. If we don't understand that, then we are going to make mistakes about what we can find with DNA and the Book of Mormon. We have to let the Book of Mormon tell us what it means. Who the Lamanites are, who the Nephites are, who the descendants of Lehi are. Apparently there were pure strains of descendants of Lehi among the peoples. That's why they bring that out. They say, hey, that is my lineage. When they go to Zarahemla, they identify that. Well, I am of that lineage, but apparently the people there weren't. No, of course not. They were only called Lamanites and Nephites. And that based on a socio-political, religious affiliation, not necessarily blood. I'm going to keep repeating that because Thomas Murphy and Simon Southerton are ignoring these informations, these hints, these ideas in the Book of Mormon that are crucial. If we don't find Lamanite DNA, whatever that is, how do you know we're not going to find it? How do you even know what it is? If you don't know what you're looking for, how can you say when you found it or when you haven't? There's the rub. That's the stick. We need to keep that clarified. This is very important to understand. I'm all for science examining the Book of Mormon. What I'm not for is an oversimplification of the Book of Mormon record in order to show it's not historical. No, its very complexity refutes those types of arguments. It's a complexity that the critics have grudgingly had to come to acknowledge also. A simple rustic like Joseph Smith writing such an astounding complex text of 1,000 years of civilization with various peoples coming and going. Not even. The argument that the DNA has refuted the Book of Mormon, that argument is simply false.